Welcome back. You've had your practice of make one left and make one right, and hopefully asked me some questions. Let's have a look at our last category of single increases. Now, our last category of single increases are called yarn over increases, and they are made by simply wrapping the yarn around the right hand needle. So this is a way of creating decorative holes in your work, holes that you mean to be there and not ones that have appeared because you've dropped a stitch or done something silly. We're going to knit in 5 for this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's going to take us away from any of the increases that we've already done. And then we're going to make one using a yarn over. So in order to do that, our yarn comes between the needles to the front of the work, goes over the top of the right hand needle, and we knit the next stitch. And what that does is it puts that yarn over the needle. You can see where it has started to make a little hole, pardon me, and that, when we come back and paddle it in the other direction, is going to become a stitch. Make one using a yarn over. So in order to do that, our yarn comes between the needles to the front of the work, goes over the top of the right hand needle, and we knit the next stitch. And what that does is it puts that yarn over the needle. You can see where it has started to make a little hole, pardon me, and that, when we come back and paddle it in the other direction, is going to become a stitch and leave a small decorative hole, but it has created an increase for us. So let's 1, 3, 4, 5, 6 stitches, and that takes us to our central stitch. So let's stick another one there. So yarn between the needle, up and over, knit one. Let's do it again. Yarn between the needles, up and over. Let's knit 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We'll do one more. Yarn between the needles, up and over the right hand needle, and let's knit the 5 stitches that take us to the end. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, he says, miscounting. Right, so we've got 4 increases on this previous row, but we won't actually see them properly until we've put in the next row, which is a purl row. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. By looking at our knitting and seeing where these things are, we're learning to do what's called reading your knitting, understanding how it's changing and seeing where these stitches are actually going. So let's turn it round and we'll purl back in your own time. I'll see you at the opposite end of the row. I'm just going to go ahead and do it, and if I get to the other end first, I'll pause and wait for you to catch up. There's my first yarn over. Just purl it as if it was an ordinary stitch. Get into the 2 round about the centre. There we go, there's the first one. There's our centre stitch. There's the next one. 6 stitches takes us to the next one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He says miscounting. There's our stitch. And it comes. And knit to the end. Their actual positions, although I'm counting them roughly, it's not critical in a little sample piece like this. Now, if we turn that round, we can see nice and easily where those 4 holes are. There's one there, 2 in the centre, and 1 at the side there. Now, if you imagine that we were doing that 2 or 3 times, we could have quite an interesting pattern there. And if we decreased somewhere else to balance the number of stitches to keep the outside edges running straight, we've started to make an interesting pattern. We've got the basis for what is called knitted lace. So let's do our yarn over end creases one more time. Only this time we're going to make the holes bigger just because we want to be able to see them easier. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's my hole. Now I'm going to put my yarn over and I'm going to bring the yarn back to the bottom and take it over a second time. So we have 2 wraps on the needle. It's still only going to be 1 stitch, but it's going to leave a bigger decorative hole. So let's knit until we get to the centre stitch. And here it is, we're at the centre stitch. So we're going to create our yarn over again. So we're going under and over a second time. Knit 1, under and over a second time, and we'll knit until we reach the next hole. There's the hole, and one more yarn over increase, in and over, and knit to the end. Now, what happens to these on the way back? There's an interesting question. Well, let's have a look. When we come back to them, they're actually easy to deal with. So we're going to purl back the 5 stitches that will take us to that first one. 5 or 6 stitches, whatever it is on your work. It's not critical. Right, here it is, and you can see the 2 wraps. We're only interested in that very first leg, and we're going to purl it, and we're going to let both of those drop off, and as you can see it just makes a large hole, but it's a hole that we have decided is going to be there. So let's go along until we reach the next one just before the centre. And here we go, there's our double wrap. We go into the hole at the first leg, we purl and we let both wraps drop off. We do the middle stitch, and of course we're at a double wrap it straight again. So in, as if we were to purl, yarn round the needle, slide it through and drop them both off, and we can purl until we get to our last double yarn over, and we'll see how it looks. Now we've just come up to it. There it is. So we're going to into that front leg, puddle it, drop both wraps off, and puddle to the end of the row. Now, it is possible on a double wrap like that to force 2 stitches to come out at the top. So let's have a look at that. So there you go. We've got what could start to look like an ear of corn motif. Small, bigger hole, and of course we're staying in the centre. And you can see where that is at the centre. There's the one at the side. And you can see how that's actually starting to make a pattern because the stitches on this side haven't been touched. The increases look as if they're going into that section. So that set of work looks as if it's moving away from that section of work. So our increases are forcing a change in shape. Your overall shape, yeah, my wife has left her phone on charge and somebody's trying to message her. So there we go. That completes the basic sets of increases. You now have some time to practice any of them or all of them as you wish. So we can talk through each of them in turn and try them again. It's entirely up to you.